Hi, this is Lenny Esposito with Come Reason, and we're looking at the question, is Easter based on pagan rituals? Now, yesterday I began this series looking at some of the claims made by skeptics that Easter celebrations have their roots in pagan holidays and customs. My goal for these videos is to not dig into a ton of research to disprove this kind of thing, but it's so that you can know how to, given a little bit of time, a little bit of thought, a little bit of reflection, you can answer such claims without so much as an internet search. Hopefully, this will give you a bit of confidence and help Christians to become more careful and better thinkers over the plethora of these Google scholars that we see so often. They just simply add what I call a lot of noise to the channel. So let's look at the claim that Easter is pagan. We've been looking at an article written by Heather McDougall that appeared in the UK newspaper, The Guardian. But let's focus in on the second paragraph from that article. Here's what McDougall writes, quote, "The Sumerian goddess Inanna, or Ishtar, was hung naked on a stake and was subsequently resurrected and ascended from the underworld. One of the oldest resurrection myths is Egyptian Horus. Born on 25th of December, Horus and his damaged eye became symbols of life and rebirth. Mithras was born on what we now call Christmas Day, and his followers celebrated the spring equinox. Even as late as the 4th century AD, the Sol Invictus associated with Mithras was the last great pagan cult the church had to overcome. Dionysus was a divine child resurrected by his grandmother. Dionysus also brought his mum, Semele, back to life." Quite a few claims there from Ms. McDougall. But that's the whole problem. You see, there's an idea that too much of everything really proves nothing. And that's the first thing that should stand out to you as you red flag how McDougall has done these kinds of things. Sumerian, Egyptian, Roman, Babylonian, and Greek religions, all as sources to a single holiday of Easter. There's something incredulous when one finds that the real origin of a very specific and detailed event, the death and resurrection of Jesus, has so many points of origin. I mean, it reminds me of when I was a little kid and I used to go to the soft drink fountain to create a suicide. Remember those? If you mix enough of everything together, all the distinctive tastes blur, and what comes out is something bland. It doesn't really matter which flavors you choose, it'll all start tasting the same after a while. Put a lot of various paints into a can and you won't get a vibrant color, but they all meld into a dingy brown. However, McDougall seems to think that everything that has even an inkling of a parallel to the resurrection story is proof that the resurrection accounts are derived from them, from that story. That's a concept we covered a little bit more last time. But of course, religious rituals are not so easily changed, regardless of the ritual's cultural base. The reason a ritual works is because it is passed down. Religious rituals are taken even more seriously. Any changes would have to be shown with some pretty compelling evidence to back it up. Now, McDougall has thrown out a zeitgeist-type wild claim, but she will need to do more than simply make the claim. What does she need to do? Well, we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next video. But the concept of changing religious understanding does lead me to my third point. You see, Jesus, his followers, and even his detractors had one thing in common. They were all Jewish. Now, I don't know if it escaped McDougall's notice, but everyone agrees that Jesus was a first century Jew living in the Jewish state when Judaism was in full swing. Post-exile Judaism would be the de facto worldview for Jesus and his followers and even his detractors, such as the Sanhedrin and the Pharisees. I mean, anyone who knows anything about ancient Judaism knows how strict the Jews were not to have anything to do with pagan gods. And this point is underlined over and over again in the Gospels when the Pharisees try to trap Jesus in asking him whether they should, say, pay tithes to Caesar or not. You remember the Pharisees, right? They're that people who took the Jewish faith so seriously, they would even place a strainer on their glasses lest they possibly swallow a gnat and violate the Jewish prohibition against swallowing an animal with its blood. These very same Pharisees questioned Jesus on giving money to Caesar as a violation of Old Testament law. Now, Jesus deftly answered that question in saying, "Render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." You see, Jesus kept his Jewish understanding of serving only Yahweh. He kept it intact, while also showing the flaw in their thinking. So, would a Jewish audience, one who is so attuned to the strict adherence of their faith that they would rather die than be forced to be worshiping any other god, would they really buy into a story that is perhaps Sumerian in origin? I mean, do you think the Jews would recognize pagan myths that were popular in their day? Do you really think that Jesus or his disciples, his Jewish disciples, would invent such stories in order to try and attract these adherents, to gain followers? I mean, the concept is preposterous. This would go over about as well as going to an Orthodox rabbi today and trying to convince him that the Messiah really is Muhammad and Islam is Judaism fulfilled. Now, you can imagine. Yes, it wouldn't work. So tomorrow, I'll look at the historical aspects of the resurrection accounts as my final point as to why these claims are ridiculous. But I hope until then, you'll keep thinking. Thank you for watching this Come Reason video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more videos like these, consider subscribing to our Come Reason YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button. And you can follow us on social media. Lastly, if you'd like to help keep these kinds of videos free, consider providing a donation by clicking on the donation button beside me. Thank you.